Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
Hello, I'm Terry Sullivan, and welcome to this week's Sticks radio show here on Seclo Sounds. Hope you're having a great bank holiday. It's the last one before Christmas. Yes, I said the word. Sorry about that. Anyhow, my guest today is none other than Stephen. He's 1/3 of the band Blake. They're a classical singing group. He'll be talking to me in a little while, but just to prove the sort of talent they have on show in Blake, this is their twist on the U2 classic, With or Without You.
See the storm set in your eyes, see the thorn twist in your side. I'll wait for you. Sleight of hand and twist of fate, on a bed of nails she makes me wait, and I'll wait. With or without you, with or without you, through the storm we reach the shore, we eat it all, but I want more, and I'm waiting for you, with or without you. With or without you, I can't live. With or without you. And you give yourself away, and you give yourself away. And you give yourself away. My hands are tied, my body bruised. She got me with nothing to win and nothing left to lose. And you give yourself away. I can't live.
On today's show, I have the band called Blake. They're made up of Humphrey, Ollie, and Stephen, and it's Stephen that I'm going to be talking to. How are you doing, Stephen?
Doing very well indeed. Enjoying this beautiful summer sunshine.
Yeah, it's actually getting a bit tedious now. I'm getting too hot, but never mind. We won't worry about that. How did sort of the name Blake start off? Because none of you are called Blake, and I can't really see how the name came around. How did you decide on the name?
It was very simple. We're very much a British group. We're very proud of that. We get to perform all over the world, and as we started talking about putting the group together, and we started talking about all the different kinds of music that we loved, we were very aware of this kind of British feel to everything. So we started looking at different British poets, British writers, British musicians, things like that. And we settled on William Blake as somebody that we all had this kind of combined love of. Is, an incredible poet, great writer, brilliant painter as well. He used to paint in the nude, oddly enough, but fascinating character, and it was just somebody we all really liked. So when it came to needing a name for a band, we just went for Blake. It's just natural to us.
Yeah, I must admit, I wondered if it was. I couldn't find anywhere. Normally, if you go on people's bios, you can find out how they got the name. I couldn't find it anywhere. I thought, I've got to ask the question.
Well, you could, if you searched across all of our various kind of Twitter, Facebook, and all that kind of thing, I'm sure you would have found one of our lovely fans who would have told you the story.
Probably would have done. I probably would. I mean, that's the great thing about the fans, and nowadays with Twitter and Facebook and email even. It's so interactive. You can interact with all the fans, and you get the good stuff, and also obviously there are the people who sort of troll and things like this. But it's great to get the feedback, because I mean, obviously I've seen you on stage, and obviously you get the immediate audience feedback that evening or that afternoon, whenever you're doing the show. You get the audience feedback right there and then. But also, there's lots of people who think, I wish I'd have said that to them, or wish I'd have done that. And they can then send you a message via Twitter and Facebook and all the other avenues that there are. LinkedIn, I think, as well, is another one. And that must be really good.
No, it's fantastic. For us, I mean, what we enjoy the most is performing live. We're never happier than when we're on a stage, like, for instance, the Stables in Milton Keynes. When you're on that stage and you're giving absolutely everything to everybody, you're singing your heart out, it's a big show, the lights are amazing, the projections are incredible, and then you get this period straight after the show when you're buzzing like crazy, and we go out and we meet with the audience, we meet with as many people as possible, we sign things and we have a good chat to people about the songs that they've enjoyed, what songs they want us to record on future albums, like we're making an album at the moment, a lot of the ideas for that have come from our audiences. And you're absolutely right. It's lovely that then continues into the kind of the virtual world. And we've got, tens of thousands of people on Facebook. We've got thousands of people, many people on things like Twitter and Tumblr. We use the online world as much as we possibly can to help us develop the music that we make for people and get hints from them about what they want from us. So for us, it's a very organic relationship. Going from the stage, doing something live, doing something visceral and real, to continuing that conversation in the virtual world. We love it that way.
Yeah, because is it true you got together via Facebook?
We did. I mean, I always love to think of it as almost reunited on Facebook, really, because Ollie and I were both at the same music college in London years before that. But yeah, Facebook was our way of just discussing the idea of harmony music and how it could be swung from classical to pop music to rock music, and how that all mixed together. And we were chatting online as friends, and eventually we started saying, well, look, can we find other people who enjoy this kind of music and get them to join in with this as well? So we started contacting friends of friends on Facebook. Before we knew it, we had a group, and we were talking about the different styles of music we wanted to work on. Started rehearsing, and really it was from those early rehearsals that we had the opportunity to do an audition at Universal Records, and that's when it all began. But without the internet, without those kind of early discussions, the ability to find people from afar, it never would have happened.
And that was as far back as 2006, 2007, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Well, the internet had been around for quite a while, but I think it was quite early days of Facebook. A lot of us were using it more like a kind of directory of friends more than anything else. And I think for us to be discussing music and albums and shows and things like that was a reasonably new thing at that time.
Because, I mean, you had instant success, really. I mean, it's your first album went number 1 in the UK classical charts, into the top 10, into the top 20 pop charts, and I mean, it sold 100,000 copies in just 3 weeks.
It did, and it went on to sell hundreds of thousands of copies. I mean, it was an amazing thing to experience, to go from absolutely nobody, in terms of nobody knows your name, your voice, what you sound like, what kind of music you do. Nobody takes any interest in that at all. Maybe not even your parents, because they're fed up with hearing you singing in the bath at home. And then oddly, you know, within the space of 6 months, you find yourself doing these fantastic things like performing on television shows or performing in big sports stadiums before big sports games. And you suddenly, you really have to kind of stop and look back on that 6 months and go, my God, the stuff that we've done, it's dreamlike. But you just kind of, it builds bit by bit, and eventually you grow into the character that can cope with those things. But I have to say, for the certainly first couple of years of getting into the music industry and traveling all over the world and performing, you know, the music of Blake in countries as far-flung as China and Russia and more recently in America, when you look back on all of that, you get a bit dizzy, to be honest. You really do.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on the sporting events. I mean, Swing Low was the official anthem of the 2007 Rugby World Cup for England, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. That was really, for us, that was our first single. It was Swing Low was obviously a piece of music that we loved at school. I think everybody sung it or shouted it or whatever at various points in their life, especially if you're a rugby fan like me, because I'm from Bath and we've got a good rugby team there, and you know, I grew up supporting that game and loving the game. So to suddenly be recording this anthem that everybody knew really well, and to hear it played in rugby stadiums all over the world, and to be, you know, for it to be played before matches when it was on TV as well, was a really proud moment. Yeah,
and of course then you were involved in the opening ceremony of Wimbledon, which was it 1492 Conquest of Paradise.
Yes, that's a piece of music by Vangelis.
That was used in the film, wasn't it?
A lot of people think is probably one of the best kind of powerful, thematically driven film composers. And 1492, we sang that as the roof closed above us for the very first time, and thankfully it didn't break halfway, leaving us hanging. It kept going all the way, which is brilliant. It's an amazing opportunity. We had the Queen right in front of us, and we had around 150 million people watching on TV from various corners of the world. So it was one of those high-pressure gigs. You don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah, and always live. Anything can go wrong. It's things that are not even under your control, out of your control. You're in serious trouble. You can be, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the tough thing with that as well is here's an odd thing for you. We were actually the last people to have stepped onto the court of Wimbledon in normal shoes. Normally, if you go on there, you have to have these proper tennis shoes, or a lot of the officials have these kind of little spiky shoe things. And we were the first ever to walk on, you know, in our three-piece suits and march across the grass, annoying the gardener, I'm sure, greatly. But the biggest problem for us during that particular performance was that Vangelis often likes to use words within his pieces, which are actually a made-up language. He does it quite a lot. So the whole of that piece, and it lasts a good kind of 4.5 minutes or so, the entire thing is a nonsensical language, which is a mixture of a bit of Latin, a bit of Italian, a bit of various other languages all mixed together. And he does it so that it sounds very interesting when you sing it, but it doesn't actually mean anything at all. So that was really kind of 4.5 minutes of me desperately trying not to forget one of the words and show it on the TV screen.
Do you think anybody would actually notice? If you had?
Well, as I've been told by many great performers, much, much greater than me and much more successful than me, as long as you keep smiling and you keep looking like you're meant to do it, 9 times out of 10, nobody spots when you make a mistake.
Yeah, you're for the public, I think, a lot of the time.
Seclo Sounds is the community radio station for Milton Keynes, producing a variety of programmes covering music, health, business, sports, faith, the arts, entertainment and much more. For more information about our programmes, visit the programme and schedule pages of our website, seclosounds.org, as well as our replay page to hear what these programmes have to offer.
MK Flyers Online, the fast and simple way to find any kind of business or service locally. Find us at mkflyersonline.co.uk or download the MK Flyers mobile app from your app store. MK Flyers Online proudly supports Seclo Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes. This is Seclo Sounds, and you can listen to us by clicking Listen Live on our homepage at seclosounds.org for a choice of players. Via TuneIn Radio at www.tunein.com, search for Seclo Sounds and listen online or download the TuneIn app. You can download the Seclo Sounds iPhone app from the iTunes App Store, and you can listen to us on demand at our replay page.
The second album, I mean, always the second album is very tricky. I've spoken to a lot of performers, and the second album, the first album can be a huge success, and then suddenly the second album you think, oh, what do we do then? But you had a great, and the album was called And So It Goes. I mean, that didn't do too badly. It made number 12 in the UK pop charts, and it was number 1 around the world on most of the classical charts.
Yeah,
and,
it was. I mean, we were very happy. We were very, very happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it signified our changeover to starting to do a little bit of kind of popular contemporary repertoire as well. I mean, a lot of people knew us as this classical harmony group, and they compared us to groups like Il Divo, or they compared us to groups like the King's Singers. But as a group of guys, our musical tastes and the style of music that we enjoyed singing was never really limited to just classical. It just happened to be what our first album ended up being. But by the time the second album came to be, we worked with an incredible producer called Stephen Lipson, who's produced a lot of Annie Lennox's albums over the years. Really interesting guy to work with. And he was very keen to use our harmony sound in more unusual ways that we hadn't done before. So that saw us covering songs by groups like Snow Patrol and doing things like Chasing Cars, where we had the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. We still had the use of them, but we added in a full band as well, and then we put the harmonies kind of painted over the top. And it created this very unusual hybrid of classical kind of popular contemporary rock mixed into one song. And that was, I think, one of the songs which saw us take that album all over the world and did very well in places like Japan and Australia and the Philippines. And no, it's great. You know, it was a lovely change of direction.
It was.
And now we love it.
Yeah, I've seen you perform Snow Patrol with Chasing Cars, and it is a fabulous version. It is.
Oh, thank you.
So different. The other one I like you doing is the one that's from Les Mis.
Bring Him Home.
Bring Him Home. That's the one. I couldn't think of the title of it, but brain went then. I mean, you do that so well. We'll discuss about the stables and tell everybody where they can see you, how they can get tickets and everything else at the stables. I saw you at the stables. I think it was either last year, or may have been the year before. Around about sort of September time it was. And I must admit, I went there. My wife is a big fan, and she said, "Oh, come along, you'll enjoy it." And I sat there, and I tell you what, I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know how sometimes
that's what we hope. You know, we were always aware of the fact that Blake being some guys on stage is always going to potentially appeal to ladies more than men. At least, you know, when they look at a poster and they go, "Oh, maybe I'll go along and see that." Maybe it's like the Chippendales or something like that, you know, a bit of confusion. But the fact is, we're nothing like the Chippendales at all, and the show is as much about us having quite a laugh on stage, bantering with each other, and also bantering with the audience as well. We have a wonderful kind of audience that come to our shows, both here in the UK and elsewhere in the world, and I would describe our audiences as people who have a sense of humour, as well as loving music, whether it be classical music or harmony music. And those types of people, we can feel very relaxed on stage. They're very relaxed with us. And even though the venues we're performing at in the UK can reach from, say, 300 people right the way up to 1,500 people, we always love this kind of relaxed, almost occasionally kind of cabaret-style environment. And it just means that everybody has fun. Even the guys have a lot of fun at our concerts, which we're really proud of. And, you know, I remember yourself coming up, and we get it a lot with guys who come up after the show, kind of nudged along by their wives. And they'll shake our hands and say, "You know what, I didn't expect to enjoy that, but I had a great night." From our point of view, that's the best praise you could ever get. To get praise from another bloke. It's great.
Yeah, I don't fancy you. You're all right. No,
Thank you.
No, the thing I loved about it is, as you just sort of alluded to, that it's not just about the music. Well, it is about the music, but it's about the entertainment factor. You tell jokes and you interact with the audience, and it's a complete show. It's not. I go to some concerts where it's like I get the impression it's people singing at me all night, and it's completely different with you. I mean, you compared yourself to El Divo, and I mean, I guess you must get a lot of people sort of say, "Oh, you're the British version of El Divo," but you're not, because of you do a lot more than that, and I think it's very difficult to get that to across to people that you're more than a singing group.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's an interesting thing. We often tend to let this experience sell itself in a way. You know, kind of people come along one year, we'll go to a theatre for the first time. You get the early interest, and people come along, and the year after that, it's always a sellout show. And from our point of view, that's what we want. I mean, we live here in the UK. We do between 40 to 50 shows per year in the UK, from as far down south as Cornwall, right the way up through to Scotland as well. And yeah, I suppose over the last kind of 6 years of touring, we've got very comfortable with ourselves on stage. You know, we feel it's the place we want to be. It's the place we have fun. And our audiences seem to have grown with us as well. And as I was saying earlier, it's audiences who've reacted to the different types of music in the show in certain ways. They've indicated to us what we need to add to the show, you know, what songs we want to build in. And that also leads the albums as well. So when people listen to our current albums, they'll get very much almost the experience of the show. They're very eclectic albums. It's a bit like switching an iPod onto shuffle and just seeing what you get thrown at you. So you can get some really odd and interesting juxtapositions where you may be listening to With or Without You by U2 one moment with full orchestra and band and all the rest of it, and the next minute we'll cycle that into something like Nessun Dorma.
Yeah.
And that's what we like to do, is kind of, we like to challenge people's preconceptions about what music has to be, and whether somebody really has to be just one genre, or whether they can perform to a venue and give people many genres in one evening. And that's what we love to do.
Oh, I think you do that. You mentioned you touring. Is there anywhere you've not been you'd love to go and work?
Well, there's certainly lots of parts of the world we haven't visited yet. We worked out the other day, in actual fact, that we visited 27 countries so far, which is a good start. It's a very good start. We hope that, we were joking that by the time we reached 10 years together, we would have liked to reach 50 different countries around the world, which is a good round number. But no, we actually have some big parts of the world we're still to go to. We haven't done any shows in Canada yet. We've done shows all over America, but we haven't actually gone into Canada, so that's to be done. We're talking about doing shows in Brazil, for instance, which we're looking forward to, and there's quite a lot of Central and South America, which we're interested to tour to, because music, you know, if there were to be one thing that linked music, it's often either very emotional or quite romantic. And those are things that resonate very well in different parts of the world. And when we go to the Philippines, or we go to Malaysia, or we go out to Japan, the kind of, us being British boys that happen to be a bit romantic as well, is something quite exotic to them. Maybe it's even exotic to British people, I don't know, possibly.
I don't know what I'm saying. Nothing. I mean, we talk about touring. What would you say the best thing about touring is, and the worst thing about touring?
Well, the best thing about touring is really simple. Is that you're getting to see loads of fascinating parts of the world, and somebody else is paying the airfare. Yeah. And you know, you're going to places that you wouldn't necessarily have considered. And we've just come back from doing shows through Eastern Europe. We literally just got back this morning, first thing. And we've visited places like Riga in Latvia. We went into Tallinn. We've been to Gothenburg in Sweden, and doing shows in places like that. They're not your most typical of holiday destinations. You wouldn't necessarily think of those as the first place to go. But when you're touring around, you kind of build this kind of little map and you follow it, and they're kind of logical places to do shows for us. And you get to see interesting places and try new foods and get to meet interesting people. The downside to all of that is you do spend a lot of time kind of sat down with the potential of deep vein thrombosis. So, you know, because that's the only side downside, I think.
I'm off to the States in September, and 11 and a half hours of flying is not my idea of a good time. But we won't go into that one.
The longest flights I think we've done, we did some shows last year in New Zealand, and I think overall the flights down there took us pretty much around the whole 24-hour day.
It does,
to get from the UK down there. So, believe me, I'm not bleating. It's definitely a very small downside to what is otherwise an absolutely fantastic kind of career to have. To travel around and sing every day, and that is actually your job, is a real blessing. I mean, I know that the majority of people out there, that their opportunity with singing is limited to what they do in the shower or what they do in their car as they drive along.
Yeah, my wife stops me singing in the shower. It is not good. Never ever invite me up on stage with you unless you want to empty the theatre. It is not good. Anybody who knows me knows that my singing is... my voice broke when I was about 13. I think it's about time I had it fixed. That's the joke I use. It is pretty appalling. But you
know what? Everybody's got a voice, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to use it. And to that end, we actually... And I know that with the stables as well, we've got the Diamond Choir joining us there as well, which is going to be fantastic. And they're like... With many of the venues that we tour through and tour to, we work with local choirs to involve them in the show, to give them an opportunity to be performing in front of packed houses. And the other thing as well is that from our point of view as three singers, we all came from choirs. That is our background. That's where our harmony singing and our kind of ear for harmony, that's where it developed from. So for us, we get a choir into every single venue. And over the last 5 years of doing that in the UK, we've worked with well over 350 choirs.
That's great. That's great for them. Great experience, isn't it? I mean, you're also...
Experience, yeah.
You're very popular with the royal family, I understand.
I don't know about popular. I mean, occasionally we're used as singing minstrels, I think. But it's a lovely thing to have had the opportunity to perform at places like, certainly Buckingham Palace, both in the gardens and inside the palace at the ballroom itself, was pretty awesome. And in other cases, we've simply been performing at events where the royals happened to be. So even if they didn't like us, they couldn't get away from us anyway. So we were at the Royal Albert Hall on, I think, 3 or 4 occasions when it was things like BBC Festival of Remembrance and other big performances, and we performed from there. And they... as far as we've always understood, they enjoy what we do, which is lovely. Although on one occasion we performed at the Festival of Remembrance, and the next day we were at a function for one of the military charities, and Prince Philip came up and he was shaking the hands of all the people along the line in front of us. And he came to us, and I said to him, it was wonderful for us to be able to perform for you yesterday in the Royal Albert Hall. And he just looked at me quizzically and went, I was in the Royal Albert Hall. He apparently does this all the time. He'll just see if you fall for it.
Yeah.
Pause for a bit. And then he went, no, it's actually quite good. He's a lovely, lovely chap.
Quite a character. So is it
definitely a character, yeah.
Is it not true you performed at Prince William and Kate Middleton's wedding then?
We performed on the wedding day, yeah, that was good fun. But I think, from our point of view, I think that it tends to be the kind of music that we do tends to be celebratory music. It tends to work quite well where it's a big grand occasion, something like that. And to that end, oddly enough, we get flown out to different parts of the world to do concerts for other heads of state, which have been quite fun as well. And we've gone out and done performances for Prince Albert of Monaco. We've gone out to places like Trinidad and performed for the president there. We've done the same in places like the Philippines. It's fascinating. So it's a really fun part of our career that the music that you do allows you to meet people who you wouldn't normally get anywhere near, or you'd only ever read about them in a magazine. So quite humbling, really.
Just to hold. It was so beautiful, knowing now that she cared. I will always remember moments that we shared. For it was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful to be
Gary Fitz here, every Monday, 10 o'clock. Coming up, we've got Eric and Ernie. Join me here on Seclo Sounds.
In your smile.
It's from 1975, Eric and Ernie were four...
Gary, it's not Eric and Ernie, it's Earl and Ernie, you know, the Cape Brothers, Union Man.
Oh, I see. Gary Fitz here, every Monday, 10 o'clock.
Earl and Ernie.
For the best travel locations around the globe, book your seat for the John Gwynn Travel Show on Seclo Sounds every Monday at 12 noon. Hear the latest advice and recommendations to help you achieve maximum enjoyment and value from your trip, no matter where you want to go or what you want to do. Also, check out John's travel report as he reveals the things that the travel industry could do better. The John Gwynn Travel Show, Mondays at 12 noon on Seclo Sounds. Check it out before you check in.
What would you say was the highlight of the Blake career so far?
God, there's truth be told, there's quite a few. I suppose one of the early ones, we were nominated for a Brit Award and won Best Album, which was pretty awesome. That was in 2008. So I think on that occasion it was just simply stepping up onto the Royal Albert Hall and being given this little statue and being told that it was yours was, I think, probably, I forget Blake, was just a life experience more than anything else, and trying to give a speech about how wonderful it was and fluffing my words terribly because I was so nervous, my hand was shaking with this statue in it. But also, I think there's been smaller things, that a lot of the time we often try and think of the big things that have been enjoyable, but in actual fact, the pleasure of our career isn't just punctuated by the big performances. It's actually can be very, very small things sometimes, and even with genuinely quite small venues like the Stables, you have this wonderful intimate relationship with the audience in front of you, and you can get, even though it's a smaller audience, the interaction and the warmth can be as such that you get an incredible buzz, and you're really hyped up, and you have a lot of fun, and people know when we're in that mood. You can see Blake as a group and as individuals. We get very animated on stage. I think we talk a lot faster. The jokes come thick and fast. Sometimes too fast. You don't think about them enough. But I think it's just every great audience has been a high point in our career. That's why we always have to thank those people who do come to our venues and fill them up and give us this amazing opportunity.
Yeah. I know a lot of performers talk about the Stables and they say it's quite frightening because you can see the whites of the eyes of the audience. It's that close. I mean, it is a great venue. Anybody who's not been there, they're missing out on something very special at the Stables, aren't they? They really are missing out.
They are indeed. I mean, I think across the whole of the UK there are only maybe 3 or 4 venues per year that we perform in that are as intimate as the Stables. So that, for a start, makes it very special for us. I mean, there's always, absolutely, when you're that close to the audience and you can see the whites of their eyes, there is a little bit of extra anticipation that you get from that. And when you are performing things like Les Mis, I mean, we performed Bring Him Home from Les Mis, which is definitely an emotional, tear-jerking song at the best of times. But when you're performing it very close to an audience and the emotions are you start seeing tears in people's eyes, and you start seeing them on their cheeks, and those people are only 3 or 4 meters away from you. It's a very, very shared emotional experience. I mean, we get a lot back off from the audience themselves. So when we see if they have tears, there have been instances when we've had to struggle and stop ourselves from getting too emotional in the song because we're just getting into a cycle. Really, it's an amazing experience when that happens.
So if any of your fans are coming along to the stables, perhaps they should bring you some tissues.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. I think that would be a good thing.
Be great.
It's pretty hot on stage.
I know.
Off our brow.
I tell you what, every time the stables is one of those places that no matter you go during the winter or during the summer, it's always warm.
That's theatres in general. We tend to, it's all the lighting that we use and the projections and things like that.
Yeah.
It all keeps the atmosphere up.
But you yourself, you actually write music for yourself. In fact, you wrote the 2010 single "Unsung Hero."
Indeed, yeah.
I
love writing. I love writing. It's
and you wrote
for the brain and the mind and the soul. It's very important. It's something that I've always had outside of Blake. I have a studio at home in London, and it's really after we've been touring hard for a while, and I come back, and my downtime isn't kind of sitting in front of the TV watching the news or playing an Xbox or whatever. I tend to be happiest when I'm sat at the piano and I'm writing a song and coming up with lyrics and then tracking it in the studio and adding in various vocals and harmonies and things like that. For me, it's genuinely a kind of indulgent therapy. A lot of what I write never gets heard by the public, and then every now and then, like Unsung Hero, it gets heard, and thankfully people enjoy it. So it's very odd, kind of opening yourself up and showing people something you've created. It's always the potential for people not liking it. That's the reality. Yeah,
because you wrote that with Denise Rich, who wrote Frankie, didn't she? She wrote. How did you manage to get together with her? That's.
Denise is an amazing lady. She's a big supporter of charity in America, and she has a charity called Gabriella's Angels, which was started after her daughter sadly died from cancer. And Denise really wanted to raise as much money for cancer research as possible, so she started putting on very large events, both in New York, where we performed a couple of times, and also here in the UK as well. And we were introduced at one of her events, and we were talking about music, and very often, very early on, songwriters, you start to, even in conversation, you can get an idea of whether somebody's going to be able to collaborate with you in a way that feels natural. So we agreed a time to meet up. I went down to the south of France, and we had a week of songwriting next to the sea, which is a very, very charming way to do it. And we came up with that song and a few others, and that was the one we enjoyed the most, and it got used on that album, and it got used on a big US television series as well. So no, it's lovely when things happen organically like that. You can't force them. You just have to. I try collaborating with as many different songwriters as possible, and every now and then you write something which you're really proud of. Okay,
well, just one question before I let you go, and then we'll talk about the stables. What would you say is your favourite song, both your favourite Blake song and your favourite song, and maybe one you'd like to record?
Well, I mean, from my point of view, I suppose I've got reasonably modern contemporary tastes on music, so I might pick something I've heard recently. I don't know, something like Wasting My Young Years by London Grammar is something that I've heard and loved and find very emotionally powerful. As a group, they're brilliant. I've met with them on a couple of occasions and been very inspired by them. And in terms of Blake material, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping it's going to be something we're working on at the moment, which has given me the greatest amount of pleasure I've had in a studio recording with Blake over the last 7 years. We're working on an album which is coming out in October.
Okay.
And one of the songs on there is a really unusual harmony acoustic version of Wicked Game by Chris Isaak.
Oh, lovely.
Now, it's a song that myself and Humphrey in the group have always been very, very passionate about, but we were convinced if we did it, we had to do something really special with it and really bring out the emotion of that song, because the way that Chris Isaak had performed it when it was recorded and in subsequent live acoustic performances, there's a huge amount of emotion, which is mainly down to his voice and the delivery. And we obviously, none of us wanted to do an impression of Chris Isaak, but we wanted to get some of that emotion across. So we started working with our current arranger, James Sherlock, and we were writing harmonies that enabled us to get some of that emotion across. And we started by building a very simplistic piano backing, and that built into guitars and routing strings at the moment. And we think it's probably going to end up being one of a really classic Blake track that we hope people will want to hear again and again. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that's going to be one of the best Blake ones to come.
So the album's going to be out just in time for Christmas, or for the Christmas sales, won't it?
It comes out on October the 23rd.
Okay.
And it's called In Harmony.
In Harmony.
And if people want to get an advanced copy of it, or they want to simply just support the album, we're actually it's a fan-funded album, like the last one we made as well. Which means our fans have genuinely made it possible for us to make this album, which is a wonderful experience, having thousands of fans, not just from the UK, but from all over the world, each of them pledging towards the album, helping us make it better with every pledge that they give us. So we've been using Pledge Music, which is a big kind of fan funding site, and if they just go to the band Blake on Pledge Music, they will be able to see the new album and hear bits from it and things like that. So it's very exciting. It's a very fun, organic way of making an album.
Sounds great. So let's go through where people can see you in the area. You're at the Stables on Thursday the 28th and Friday the 29th of August. And you've got a special guest that evening, haven't you? You've got Camilla Kerslake.
We've got Camilla Kerslake, who is, well, she's a Brit Award nominee. What can I say? She's blonde and she's very, very beautiful, but she's also blessed with an absolutely fantastic voice. And she does a number of songs during the show as well, which are weaved in very, very nicely. And she does some really powerful duets with us as well. So we do things like The Prayer by David Foster, which is, it's a great piece of music. And so we sing that as a duet with her. We do You Raise Me Up, which is a single that we put together for the cancer research charity Cancer Campaign last October. We do that with live choir as well, which is really kind of uplifting and very cathartic. And some of the songs she sings are just absolutely beautiful. I mean, certainly if there are any Kate Bush fans, her voice on certain Kate Bush songs is absolutely beautiful. Specifically, This Woman's Work, which is one of my favourite Kate Bush songs of all time. So affecting. She does that beautifully in the second half of the concert. It's an absolute, everybody in the audience, you could hear a pin drop during that song. So, no, she's a brilliant addition to the show. Yeah,
so it's great. I mean, I say that's when people can see you, August the 28th, August the 29th. And they can keep in touch with you. Your website is blakeofficial.com. I mean, the Facebook page is facebook.com/the band Blake, and Twitter is twitter.com/thebandblake. It's been an absolute pleasure today, Stephen.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely great to see you on there. I hope the show is a success at the Stables. I'm hoping to get along on Friday. My wife's going to try and drag me along again on Friday. No, I will actually try and pop along on the Friday the 29th. So hopefully I might bump into you there after the show.
Definitely. Well, as I said, we're there after every show, meeting with all the audience. So it's lovely to see you there.
Be lovely,
hear what you think of the new songs in the show.
Yep. Thank you very much, anyhow. Thank you for your time today, Stephen, and good luck with the album as well.
Thank you very much.
test that lays upon the altar the dearest and the best. The love that never falters, the love that pays the price, the love that makes undaunted the final sacrifice. There's another country I've heard of long ago, most dear to them that love her, most great to them that know. We may not come armies, we may not see our king. Her fortress is a faithful heart, her bride is suffering, and so I saw silently her shining rounds increase, and her ways are ways of gentleness, and all her paths
There we are, that's Blake's version of the classic I Vow to Thee My Country. I don't know what it is about that song, but always makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Anyhow, next week joining me on the show, I have one half of Chaz and Dave. I have Chaz Hodges joining me on the show next week. He lives in the Sticks area. He's going to be talking about his musical career. There's more to him than Chaz and Dave. Anyhow, as always, I've been Terry Sullivan. This has been the Sticks Radio Show. Until next time, it's bye for now, and I leave you with Blake and Bring Him Home from the classic musical Les Mis.
God on high, hear my prayer. In my need, you have always been there. He is young, he's afraid. Let him rest, heaven blessed. Bring him home, bring him home, bring him home. He's like the son I might have known if God had granted me a son. The summers die one by one, how soon they fly on and on, and I am old and will be gone. Bring him peace.
This is Seclo Sounds, your community radio station. If you'd like to volunteer some of your time and skills with Seclo Sounds, send an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org and let us know how you would like to be involved.
MK Pulse proudly sponsors Seclo Sounds. MK Pulse is Milton Keynes' local magazine, bringing helpful information on food, health, fashion, money, travel, culture, and much more to 66,000 readers every month. Plus news, views, and what's on from around the city. If it's happening in Milton Keynes, it's in MK Pulse, and it's available online at www.mkpulse.co.uk. MK Pulse and Seclo Sounds, the heart and soul of the city.